Many years ago, before the pub called Owerri became known beyond Nigeria, there was a woman at the corner of Ekeonunwa Market, Nkeiru. She was a widow, young and strong, left with 3 children and the heavy burden of tomorrow. Her husband, Chikezi, had passed on when their children were still small. Together they once had plans, a shop, some savings, a piece of land in the village. But after his burial, his kinsmen came like hawks after a motherless chick and carried everything away in the name of tradition. What they left behind was only tears and maize. This is the story of Nkeiru, from fire till flower. The fire and the ashes. The happy home. Before the storm, there was peace. Before the tears, laughter lived in that small bungalow behind the old Ekeonunwa Market, the one with the green zinc roof and hibiscus flowers by the fence. That was the home of Nkeiru and her husband, Chikezi, a man whose laughter filled the house like the aroma of freshly cooked yam porridge. Every morning, before the sun even thought of rising, the family would already be awake. Nkeiru, still young and full of life, would be in the kitchen stirring hot pap while her husband ironed his shirt for work. Their 3 children, Nkeiru, Chika, and little Ifeoma, would sit around the table, fighting over who would get the biggest piece of akara. That was their world, small but full of joy. They didn't have much, but they had peace, and love that wrapped around them like the early morning mist of Owerri. Chikezi was a mechanic, not just any mechanic, but the kind whose customers would travel far to find him. They said he had the hand of God. He repaired cars with the same patience he used to guide his children. And Nkeiru. She sold pap and akara in front of their compound, right by the roadside. Her pap was the talk of the street, thick, smooth, and full of that fresh maize flavor you could never forget. Even people driving to work would stop their cars just to buy from her before heading out. That small pap business wasn't just a source of income, it was a symbol of their unity. She made it, he helped her grind the maize on weekends, and the children helped package it. In their small way, they were building a legacy. But in life, sometimes the sweetest mornings end in unexpected nights. The fall of the house. It started like any other day. The morning sun was bright, and the children were getting ready for school. Nkeiru packed their food flasks, beans and plantain, and her husband kissed her forehead like he always did before heading to work. "Take care of yourself, Nkem," he said. "Always," she replied, smiling. That was the last time she saw him alive. By evening, news spread like wildfire across Owerri. There had been an accident along Owerri Road. A tanker lost control. Among those caught in the crash was Chikezi. The world stopped. Nkeiru fainted when she heard. Her neighbors carried her into the house. The children cried until their voices broke. Grief came like harmattan dust, sudden, dry, and choking. For days, she sat by the corner of the house staring into space, asking heaven why. People came and went. Some with food. Some with advice. Many with pity. But pity does not pay bills. Pity does not raise children. And then came the kinsmen. They came in groups, heads high, with that fake sympathy that hides greed. At first, they said they came to help. They helped alright, they helped themselves to everything Chikazi ever owned. The land, the savings, the small bus he bought for transport business, even his mechanic tools, all gone. They said, tradition demands it. Tradition. No. It was wickedness dressed in cultural cloth. Mama Nkeiru pleaded, cried, and begged. But who listens to a widow? They told her she had no right to question them. That as a woman, she was just keeping a property that belonged to their late brother's family line. That night, she held her children close and cried silently. The next morning, she woke up before dawn, washed her face, tied her wrapper, and went back to her small pap stall at the corner of the road, the only thing they couldn't take from her. When the ground beneath your feet is taken away, sometimes all you can do is learn to stand on air and trust that God will hold you. From that day, Mama Nkeiru became a one-woman army. Each morning, she would soak maize, grind it, sieve it, cook it, and sell it, all by herself. The same men who took her husband's inheritance would pass by her stall and greet, "Noni Oma, you are strong oh." She would smile and say, "It is well." But deep inside, she was fighting battles they couldn't see. The battle to feed her children. The battle to pay school fees. The battle to survive. There were days the pap would spill. Days the rain would pour and flood her small corner store. Days the councilmen would come with their threats and seize her pots. Still, she never gave up. Every hardship became a story of survival. And every night, when she returned home exhausted, her daughter, young Nkeiru, the aider, would help her wash the utensils and prepare for the next day. It was in those moments, by the flickering lantern, that their dreams were born. Mama, little Nkeiru would say, "One day, this our pap will travel the world." Her mother would laugh tiredly, shaking her head. "Just face your books, my daughter." But she didn't know that in those innocent words lay the seed of destiny. And so began the second life of Mama Nkeiru. The life of struggle, faith, and quiet determination. The world had taken everything from her. But not her courage. Not her will. She was determined to make sure her husband's dream did not die. That their children would go to school. That her family name would not vanish into poverty. And from that resolve came something powerful. A legacy built from pain, pap, and prayer. The fire and the ashes. The journey of fire. They say when life hits you with fire, it is either to destroy you or to refine you. For Mama Nkeiru, it was both a fire that burned away her comfort, but forged a stronger version of her spirit. Every dawn, before the first cock crow, she would tie her headscarf, lift her empty buckets, and walk to the maize mill. Some days she would borrow maize from Mama Uju, her neighbor. Other days, she would buy on credit from the traders who pitied her situation. The sound of that grinding machine became the rhythm of her life, loud, harsh, and endless. Each turn of the engine was like a prayer. "Lord, give me strength." After sieving the pap, she would carry the heavy bowl on her head, walking through the muddy paths to Ekeonunwa Market, where her small table stood at the corner near the pepper sellers. That table was her world, her battlefield, her altar of sacrifice. Every morning she wiped it, arranged her buckets, and smiled at her first customers, the Kiki riders, the women coming from the farm, and the school children who couldn't start their day without her hot pap. She called out softly, "Pap dey hot. Akara dey fresh. Come by, my people." To many, it was just breakfast. To her, it was survival. But life in the market wasn't kind. Local touts would come with their arrogance and fake authority. "Madam, you never pay for space today," oh, one would shout. If she begged or delayed, they would seize her pots or pour away her pap. Sometimes the councilmen joined them, wearing their reflective jackets, pretending to be enforcing order. Yet, behind their fake badges, they demanded daily bribes. Still, Mama Nkeiru would smile, hand over a small note, and whisper, "God go judge you now." It became a ritual, the daily tax of the poor. But she endured. She learned that if she let bitterness grow in her heart, it would poison her courage. So she prayed instead, and worked harder. Her children watched her and learned the meaning of sacrifice without words. Nkeiru, the first daughter, her mother's reflection, helped at the stall after school. She learned how to prepare pap, how to smile at customers even when tired, and how to save every naira. Her younger brother, Chika, would wash the utensils and carry firewood from behind their house. Little Ifeoma would sit beside her mother, singing songs to attract buyers. Musical note by Papo, Sweet Papo, Mama Nkeiru owned the Sweet Pass, musical note. Those small voices made the stall come alive. Even when she had nothing, those children gave her something to live for. Days turned into months. Months turned into years. Sometimes, she would close her stall early to attend PTA meetings, carrying her basin on her head straight from the market to the school compound. She never wanted her children to feel inferior because they were poor. When school fees became too much, she would make extra pap at night, cooking till 2 a.m., sleeping for only 3 hours before starting again. Her hands became rough, her back bent, but her spirit never failed. People in the market started calling her Mama Do Good, because she was always cheerful, always helping others even when she lacked. Every night, when the market closed and the city went quiet, she would count her earnings carefully. Some nights it was only 2,000 Nigerian nairas. Other nights, less. But she always set aside something for her children's future. To her, their education was the promise she made to her late husband, a promise she swore to keep no matter how long it took. And so, when Nkeiru passed her WAC exams with flying colors, the whole street celebrated. Even the market women danced. "Oh, Mama Nkeiru, your pikin don make am," they shouted. She smiled, tears in her eyes. Her daughter's success felt like victory over every hardship she had ever faced. The seeds of tomorrow. It's funny how dreams grow, sometimes, not in rich soil, but in the cracks of hardship. While other children dreamed of traveling abroad, Nkeiru dreamed of improving her mother's pap. Every time she helped her sieve or boil, she watched carefully, measuring, observing, asking questions. She wanted to understand why it fermented, how the texture changed, what made some batches taste sweeter than others. At first, her mother thought she was just curious. But Nkeiru was building something bigger, a silent vision. When she got admission into Imo State University to study food science and technology, the joy in that small bungalow was louder than the church bell on Christmas morning. Mama Nkeiru danced round the compound with wrapper tied to her chest. Neighbors came to congratulate her. The woman who once had nothing now had a child going to the university. But even that came with a price. School fees, transport, accommodation, everything doubled. So Mama Nkeiru increased her production. She started selling early in the morning, then again in the evening. She even began supplying nearby shops and workers' canteens. Her customers loved her pap so much they started calling it Yori pap. The name stuck. They said it tasted so smooth and rich that it felt like a love song in the mouth. Mama Nkeiru laughed the first time she heard it, but Nkeiru wrote it down secretly. One day, she said to herself, this name will go places. At the university, Nkeiru studied with the same passion her mother used to stir pap. She became known for her dedication, the girl who never played with her dreams. While others partied, she spent evenings at the lab, experimenting with maize fermentation and drying techniques. Her lecturers noticed her seriousness. One even told her, "You make this country proud someday." And deep down, she believed him. Every holiday, she returned home to help her mother at the store. And every time, she noticed how her mother's hands trembled more than before, from years of stress and exhaustion. It hurt her, but it also fueled her determination. She promised herself, "I will make this pap travel the world, so my mother will never have to stand under the sun again." But life wasn't done testing them yet. In her final year, the economy worsened. The price of maize skyrocketed, and the local government demolished part of the market for road expansion, including Mama Nkeiru's corner. It was a heavy blow. Her mother cried, her goods were destroyed. But she refused to give up. She found another small space near the church and started afresh. This time, the market women stood by her. They contributed small money to help her rebuild. Because by now, her story had inspired them too. Through pain, she planted seeds of hope, not only for her family, but for others watching. By the time Nkeiru graduated, their family name had already become a symbol of endurance. She graduated with the first class. Her mother nearly collapsed from joy when she heard the news. "Oh, Chinik, see my pikin." The daughter of a pap seller don't carry first class, she shouted at the market. The women ululated and danced, pouring water on her feet in celebration. That day, the Ekeonunwa Market became a festival ground. They didn't just celebrate a certificate. They celebrated victory over poverty. Victory over shame. Victory over the voices that once said, "She go end for that store." In life, some people inherit wealth. Others inherit struggle. But if you stay faithful, consistent, and diligent, God can turn even pap into purpose. For Mama Nkeiru and her daughter, this was just the beginning. The seed of Yori pap had been planted. And the world was about to taste its sweetness. The rising steam. A new world. Every new beginning feels like standing on a tall hill. The view is wide, the wind is fresh, but the climb is never easy. After graduating with a first class in food science and technology from Imo State University, Nkeiru Chikazi stood on that hill of possibility. Her name was printed boldly on the university's honor roll. People pointed at her and said, "That's the pap seller's daughter." Not as mockery anymore, but with pride. Job offers started to come in. One from a food processing company in Lagos. Another from a nutritional research firm in Abuja. And one from a multinational packaging company based in Port Harcourt. Mama Nkeiru, as humble as ever, simply said, "My daughter, choose the one that will give you peace, not just the one that will give you money." After praying, Nkeiru chose the company in Lagos because it offered her a chance to work in food innovation, exactly what she had always dreamed of. Lagos. The land where dreams chase buses, and traffic never sleeps. When Nkeiru arrived, she was overwhelmed, the noise, the rush, the tall buildings. It was a world far from Ekeonunwa Market in Owerri, yet she carried the market's lessons in her heart. She rented a small single-room apartment in Suralere, nothing fancy, but clean and safe. Her first morning in the city, she stood by the window watching people hurry to work and whispered, "Papa, Mama, your girl done reach city." Work started. Her new company was called NutriPure Foods Ltd., one of Nigeria's rising food tech companies focused on local ingredients. They made cereals, fortified drinks, and baby foods, all from Nigerian produce. Nkeiru's supervisors quickly noticed her brilliance. She had ideas that could turn everyday foods into better products. She worked late, volunteered for research projects, and learned everything she could about food preservation, dehydration, and industrial packaging. But while others saw a promising young scientist, Nkeiru carried something deeper, a memory. Every time she mixed formulas in the lab, she saw her mother stirring pap by the roadside. Every smell of maize reminded her of that corner in Ekeonunwa Market where her story began. At night, after work, she would sit by her small table with a jotter and pen, sketching ideas. What if, she thought, we could make pap that doesn't spoil after 2 days? What if we could dry it into powder, so it can be packaged, transported, and preserved for months? It was an idea that had lived in her mind since childhood. But now she had the knowledge to bring it to life. She started reading research papers, watching YouTube tutorials on food dehydration, and experimenting with small samples she bought from the market. Every weekend, she would call home. "Mama, how business?" And Mama would laugh. "My daughter, same way we dey manage, oh, rain beat me small today, but we thank God." Nkeiru would smile and promise, "Mama, it go better soon. One day, this our pap go enter supermarket shelf." Mama would chuckle. See my daughter, oh. You and this your big grandma." But deep down, she believed her. As months passed, Nkeiru became one of the most valued young researchers at NutriPure. Her boss, Mrs. Kuti, a tough but visionary woman, noticed her consistency. One evening, she called her into the office. "Miss Nkeiru," she said, adjusting her glasses, "you are one of the brightest interns we've had in years. But I notice you often work late, even on weekends. What are you chasing?" Nkeiru smiled shyly. "More, I'm chasing an idea." Mrs. Kuti leaned back, intrigued. "Tell me about it." So she did, the pap story, her mother's struggle, her dream to convert it into a powdered, shelf-stable product that could compete with imported cereals. When she finished, Mrs. Kuti was silent for a moment. Then she smiled. "That's a beautiful dream. And if you pull it off, it will feed nations. From that day, Mrs. Kuti became more than a boss, she became a mentor. She allowed Nkeiru to use the company's small test lab during weekends for her private research. And that was when the real work began. It was not an easy road. At first, every batch failed. When she dried the pap, it lost its taste. When she tried adding preservatives, it clumped together. When she adjusted the temperature, the color changed. There were nights she slept in the lab, head on the table, surrounded by maize samples. Some days, she called Mama crying. "Mama, you know they work. I don't try everything." And her mother would reply softly, "My daughter, remember wetin I always tell you, pap no dey fear fire. Keep stirring, it go soon thick." That phrase became her strength. For 2 years, she kept experimenting. Each failure taught her something new. She learned how to control moisture, balance fermentation, and use natural stabilizers. And then, one quiet Sunday evening, it happened. The mixture dried perfectly, smooth, creamy, and dissolvable in hot water. She poured it into a cup, added warm milk, and stirred. The aroma filled the room. She tasted it. It was her mother's pap, just in powder form. Tears rolled down her cheeks. She picked up her phone and called home immediately. "Mama! Mama, I did it." Her mother's voice came, confused but happy. "Did wetin, my daughter?" "Mama, our pap done turn powder, and is still sweet." Mama laughed so hard she dropped the phone. Neighbors heard her shouting, "My daughter done turn pap to powder oh." That night, both of them couldn't sleep. Not because of fear, but because of joy. The fire that once burned their family had now produced steam, and that steam was rising. In that small moment, everything changed. A new chapter began, the chapter of innovation, faith, and destiny. From the ashes of struggle, a dream was reborn. Mama Nkeiru's pap was ready to travel the world. The rising steam. The experiment. Every invention begins like a whisper, small, uncertain, and easy to ignore. But when faith mixes with effort, that whisper becomes a roar. For Nkeiru, the powdered pap experiment was just the beginning. The next challenge was turning it into something people could buy, taste, and trust. She started by naming it Yori Pap Mix. The name came naturally, remember that was what the customers named it long ago. Her first batch was tiny, just 5 nylon packs filled with the new powdered pap, carefully sealed with a small hand sealer she bought from Nigerian Market. Each pack had a simple paper label she printed from a business center. It wasn't fancy, but it was a start. When she showed it to her mother during a video call, Mama almost cried. "Oh, Nkeiru, si designo. You mean this small pack no my pap?" "Yes Mama," Nkeiru said smiling. "Not the same pap, just modernized." Her mother nodded slowly, voice shaking with emotion. "My daughter, you have turned my sweat into gold." With encouragement burning in her heart, Nkeiru decided to test her new product on the streets. She started small, handing free samples to neighbors and coworkers. At first, many were doubtful. "Pap in powder form. You sure say it go sweet?" But after tasting it, their faces changed. "Oh, this thing nice oh. It's smooth past normal pap." Some even asked to buy more. That tiny success gave her confidence. She invested her next salary in buying more maize, packaging materials, and stickers. Soon, her room turned into a mini factory. Maize on one side, sealing machine on the other, blender and measuring cups in the middle. Every night after work, she would come home, tie her hair, and begin production. Her dream was alive, but the hustle was real. She made a rule for herself. Save 50% of my salary every month for the business. Slowly, Yori pap mix began to spread among colleagues and small stores around Soralia. She delivered on foot, using small branded nylon bags she printed with her name and phone number. Business wasn't booming yet, but the feedback was encouraging. Then came the first heartbreak. One Saturday morning, Nkeiru decided to approach a major supermarket in Yoba. She dressed smartly, carried her samples, and waited almost 2 hours before the manager attended to her. After explaining everything with passion, the man barely looked up. He glanced at the package and said, "Sorry, we only accept products that are NAFDAC approved. Try when you're bigger." He slid the sample back to her. Nkeiru stood there, heart heavy, smile frozen. She walked out slowly, holding her pack like a wounded dream. That night, she couldn't eat. She kept asking herself, maybe I'm dreaming too big. Who will buy from me without a name or license? But then, she remembered her mother's voice. Pap no dey fear fire. So she wiped her tears, opened her notebook, and wrote, "Next step, get NAFDAC approval." That single decision changed everything. She started researching food registration requirements. She attended free online webinars about entrepreneurship and product safety. She joined a Women in Business WhatsApp group, where she met other small food entrepreneurs like her. They encouraged her to keep pushing, to apply for grants, and to register her brand officially. Through that network, she met Mr. Ojo, a retired food technologist who volunteered to guide young innovators. He reviewed her process, corrected her packaging, and helped her write the technical documents she needed. It wasn't easy. There were costs, inspections, and paperwork that took months. But one fateful morning, a letter arrived from the NAFDAC office. Her product, Yori Pap Mix, was officially certified. She held the letter in her hands, trembling. The same pap that once sold in plastic buckets was now approved for shelves across Nigeria. She knelt down and cried, not tears of sorrow, but of gratitude. Her mother danced in the village that day, shouting, "My daughter don't get NAFDAC. My daughter don't make me proud." Neighbors joined in, clapping, laughing, praising God. Now came the next phase, branding and marketing. Nkeiru learned how to use Instagram and WhatsApp business to promote her pap mix. She started posting videos of herself making pap in creative ways, adding milk, fruit, and honey. Her caption read, "Healthy pap made from 100% natural maize, quick to prepare, good for babies, adults, and elders. Yori, the taste of home, made modern." Orders started coming in. Not hundreds, but tens, enough to keep hope alive. At first, she handled everything alone: production, delivery, and social media. Sometimes she would deliver to bus stops herself just to save transport money. Her friends teased her. "See scientists wey don turn marketer." She would just smile and say, "No, so success dey start from small." Then, one day, something unexpected happened. A popular food influencer on Instagram reposted her video with the caption, "This Nigerian girl turned her mother's pap business into a modern brand. I love it." Within 24 hours, her followers tripled. Messages flooded in. People asked for bulk orders, partnership deals, and reseller opportunities. That night, as she watched her notifications roll in, Nkeiru covered her face and whispered, "God, thank you." But even in success, life tested her again. Production became too demanding for her small space. Suppliers increased prices. She missed deadlines, lost sleep, and sometimes cried out of exhaustion. But each time she wanted to give up, she remembered Mama's words. "Pap no dey fear fire." So she kept stirring. She applied for a youth entrepreneurship grant, and months later, she was selected among the finalists. That grant would later open a door she never imagined, one that would connect her humble pap to international recognition. But that is a story for the next scene. The rising steam, the fire and the festival. Success is like pap, it needs steady stirring. If you stop halfway, it burns. If you rush it, it lumps. But if you stay patient and keep stirring, it thickens beautifully. For Nkeiru, life had started thickening. Her pap brand, Owerri Pap Mix, was slowly becoming a household name among young mothers and health-conscious Nigerians. She had small distributors in Owerri, Enugu, Lagos, and Abuja. The dream was growing, steady, not loud, but sure. Then one morning, something unexpected happened. A call came on her phone. Nkeiru answered over the phone. "Hello. Who is this, please?" Caller said. "Good morning, Ma. My name is Adiz from the National Small Business Expo team. You've been nominated for the Young Food Innovator Award." Short silence. Sound of surprise. Nkeiru asked. Me? Are you sure?" Adiz laughs, answered. "Yes, Ma. Your product was nominated by one of our judges after seeing it online. We'll be hosting the Food and Culture Festival next month in Abuja. If you can attend and display your product, you stand a chance to win funding and partnership deals." That call lit a new fire inside her. She told her mother immediately. Mama Nkeiru, excited, asked. "No, my daughter, so the pap wey we dey sell for market go reach Abuja?" "Chinik. God don start oh," Nkeiru said. "Mama, it's just exhibition oh, not sure of anything yet." Mama Nkeiru said. Don't say that. Even being nominated is something. Go there and show them what our pap can do." They both laughed and prayed together. The day of the festival arrived. Entrepreneurs from all over the country filled the hall, from small farmers to food manufacturers, all proudly displaying their creations. Nkeiru's stand was simple but eye-catching: white tablecloth, wooden trays, her pap neatly packed in transparent pouches with the red and yellow label. Owerri, the taste of home. She arranged her samples carefully and smiled as curious visitors stopped by. Visitor 1 said, "Wow, pap in powder form. How you do Nkeiru, smiling, answered. "I just combined our traditional process with modern preservation methods. Same taste, longer shelf life." Visitor 2 said, "This thing go sell abroad oh. I fit take some for my sister in the UK." Nkeiru answered, "Yes, Ma. It's travel safe." They laughed, exchanged numbers, and took pictures. Her booth quickly became one of the busiest at the expo. People were curious, impressed, inspired. But in every success story, there's always a test hiding in the crowd. While she was serving samples to some guests, a tall man in a corporate suit walked up to her stand. He picked up a pack, looked at it for a while, then frowned. Man asked, "You said you make this yourself?" Nkeiru answered, "Yes, sir." Man said, Do you realize this product looks very similar to ours? We've been producing pure pap mix for 2 years now. We might have to check if this isn't a copy. The crowd around her booth goes quiet. Nkeiru freezes. Nkeiru said, "Sir, I didn't even know about your product. I've been doing this for years with my mother. It's original, sir." The man shakes his head said, "We'll see about that." He drops the pack and walks away. For the rest of the day, her spirit was heavy. The words kept echoing, "Copy, copy, copy." That night, as she lay in her hotel room, she called her mother. Her voice trembled. Nkeiru said, "Mama, what if they disqualify me? That man said my pap looks like theirs." Mama, Nkeiru said, "My daughter, no fear. The fire that tests pap is the same fire that brings out the real one. Go there tomorrow with confidence. Let them taste your own. The truth go speak for itself." The next day, judges came for product tasting. Each entrepreneur had only a few minutes to pitch. When it was Nkeiru's turn, she stood before them, calm, smiling, heart pounding. She greeted respectfully, then began. Nkeiru said, "My name is Nkeiru Chikezi. I am the founder of Yori Pap Mix. This product was inspired by my mother, a widow who sold pap to raise her children after my father's death. I studied food science at Imo State University, and I wanted to preserve her dream, to make our local pap travel beyond borders." She paused, breathing deeply. Then she opened a thermos flask, poured hot water into a glass bowl, and gently mixed her pap powder. The aroma filled the hall. Judges leaned forward, smiling. Judge 1 said, "This smells like home." Judge 2 said, "It's so smooth. How did you process it?" Nkeiru, smiling, said, "With love, sir." The crowd laughed softly. Her presentation ended with a standing ovation. But as the results were being compiled, someone posted online that Yori had copied an existing brand. The rumor spread fast. Within hours, people were tagging her, questioning her integrity. That night, she couldn't sleep. Tears rolled down her face as she whispered, "God, I only wanted to honor my mother. Why all this?" She remembered something her mother used to say when life was tough. "Pap may boil, but it will cool, and when it cools, it thickens." She smiled weakly, wiped her tears, and said, "God, let my pap thicken." The next morning, everyone gathered for the award ceremony. Her heart raced as they called out the winners for different categories. Then came the moment. Announcer. And the Young Food Innovator Award goes to Yori Pap Mix. Crowd erupts, cheers, drums, applause. Nkeiru froze, tears filling her eyes. She walked up slowly to the stage as the host handed her the award and a giant check. The same man who accused her the previous day was in the audience. He clapped too, quietly, but sincerely. It was more than a win. It was a testimony, proof that truth, diligence, and faith always outlast lies. News blogs picked up her story. Articles called her the girl who made pap go global. Orders poured in from supermarkets and hotels. Investors reached out. Her life changed overnight. But she never forgot where it started. At that small stall in Ekeonunwa Market, beside her mother, under the morning sun. The same hands that once sold pap by the roadside were now signing partnership deals. The same recipe that once fed a hungry widow was now feeding nations. Mama Nkeiru's pap had risen, not just with heat, but with hope. Consistency may not bring results in a day. But if your hands stay faithful, and your heart stays pure, Your story will rise like steam and touch the skies. The rising steam. When dreams cross the ocean. Every dream begins like smoke, it rises quietly, uncertain of where the wind will carry it. But when that smoke is fed with faith, it becomes fire. And fire can be seen from anywhere in the world. For Nkeiru, that fire had finally begun to spread beyond Nigeria. After her victory at the National Food Festival, everything changed. Her small brand, Owerri Pap Mix, became a national sensation. Orders flooded in faster than she could supply. She moved from her small rented room to a modest factory space in Lagos. She hired young people, graduates and non-graduates, to help with production, packaging, and delivery. The pap that once filled only a family's stomachs was now feeding a nation's economy. Inside the new workspace, things were different now. Branded curtains, labeled shelves, and delivery vans carried the words, Owerri, the taste of home. Every morning before work began, Nkeiru would gather her small team for prayer. They would hold hands and repeat her favorite saying, Pap no dey fear fire. It became their motto, a reminder that no matter how hot life gets, they must never stop stirring. Her marketing videos began to attract international viewers. Nigerians abroad commented, This pap reminds me of home. Please ship to Canada. Oh, I miss this taste so much. At first, she didn't know how to handle international shipping. But she was determined. She partnered with a local export agency that helped small brands send products abroad. It started small, one box to the UK, another to Canada, then the US. She would track each delivery like a proud mother watching her child travel for the first time. When the first customer abroad posted a photo of her pap on Instagram with the caption, Authentic Nigerian pap in New York. Owerri, wanna try? Nkeiru wept. She screenshot the post and sent it to her mother on WhatsApp. Mama Nkeiru, voice trembling through phone. Achinik. Nkeiru. You mean our pap done reach America? Nkeiru, smiling through tears. Yes, Mama. It has crossed the ocean. Mama danced around her compound that night. Neighbors gathered, clapping and laughing. Some shouted, Mama Nkeiru, your pap done blow. Bring pap for celebration. Oh. She brought out bowls of pap, fried akra, and suya, and they ate, sang, and prayed together under the moonlight. A few months later, Nkeiru decided to visit home. It had been long since she stood in Ekeonunwa Market, the very place where everything began. When her car entered the market square that morning, people recognized her instantly. Mama's delight don't come. Oh, non Nkeiru be this. Oh, God is wonderful. She stepped out, wearing a simple Ankara dress and flat sandals. No makeup, no pretense, just home. Tears filled her eyes as she looked around. The same store her mother used years ago still stood there, neatly arranged with fresh pap. But this time, the sign above it read, Owerri Corner, Original Sauce. Mama Nkeiru came out from behind the store, wiping her hands on her wrapper. For a moment, she froze, staring at her daughter. Then she shouted, Nkeiru my pikin, and ran to hug her. Both women held each other tightly, crying, laughing, shaking. Mama Nkeiru, my daughter, see as you fine. See wetin God done do. Nkeiru, smiling. Mama, now you start am. You no gree give up. You keep stirring even when fire too hot. Mama Nkeiru. And see where the stirring carriers go. from market to America. They both laughed, tears and joy mixing freely. Voiceover. News spread fast around the market. Soon, traders, passers-by, and children gathered, clapping and celebrating. Local drummers started playing, women danced. Mama Nkeiru and her daughter shared free pap packs to everyone who came. They gave money to widows, food to the needy, and gifts to the market women who once encouraged them. Then, standing on a small wooden stool, Nkeiru raised her microphone. Nkeiru, speaking emotionally. My people, I no come here today to boast. I come to thank God. Nor this same market where my mama start, where she sell pap to feed us, nor here everything begin. When people laughed, we kept believing. When we had nothing, we still had hope. If my story fit encourage anybody today, let it be this. Never despise your small beginning. God fit turn pap seller into producer, street hawker into exporter, dreamer into doer. No matter how small your fire be, keep stirring your pap. One day, it go rise. After that celebration, life moved even faster. An international department store chain from the UK reached out for partnership. They wanted to stock Owerri pap mix under their African foods category. For the first time in her life, Nkeiru boarded a flight not as a visitor, but as a businesswoman. When she landed in London and walked into that massive store, she froze. There, on the shelf, neatly arranged among global brands, was a pap. The same recipe her mother used to sell under the sun in Owerri, now sitting proudly under fluorescent lights in a foreign land. She stood there quietly, tears running down her cheeks. In that moment, she wasn't just looking at a product. She was looking at proof that humble beginnings are not hopeless beginnings. Months later, Nkeiru returned to Nigeria again, this time, not alone. She came with her partners, bringing gifts for her community and launching her NGO, the Pap of Hope Foundation. The foundation empowered widows, young mothers, and students, teaching them small business skills, helping them start local trades, and giving scholarships to children. 12 beneficiaries were chosen that day, men and women who had once given up on life. She gave each of them seed capital and promised to mentor them personally. When asked why she was doing all this, she smiled and said, "Because someone once gave me pap when I was hungry, and I never forgot the taste." That day, as the sun set over Ekeonunwa Market, Mama Nkeiru and her daughter sat quietly on a wooden bench, watching the orange glow fade. Mama Nkeiru. My daughter, your papa go dey proud for heaven. You don't do well. Nkeiru. Mama, now your faith teach me everything. You never gave up. You kept pushing. They held hands and smiled. The same hands that once stirred pap over fire were now shaping destinies. Life is like pap, plain, humble, but full of potential. It takes heat to bring out its sweetness. It takes stirring to make it smooth. And it takes patience to let it thicken. Your dream might be small now, unrecognized, underestimated, unseen. But if you keep working with faith, humility, and diligence, one day, your own pap will cross oceans too. Don't rush your process. Don't envy another person's fire. Just keep stirring your own pot. Because when the time comes, your steam will rise for the world to see. The harvest of hope. The seeds she left behind. Seasons change, but stories that are told with love never die. It had been 5 years since the first box of Owerri pap mix crossed the ocean. What started as one woman's dream had become a movement, a symbol of resilience, faith, and pure determination. The Path of Hope Foundation had grown stronger. Every year, they hosted a gathering called The Taste of Tomorrow, where women from different states came together to showcase their small businesses, from pap and palm oil to fashion and handmade crafts. Each participant had one thing in common. They all started with little, but refused to give up. Welcome, everyone. Today, we celebrate those who turned struggle into strength and pain into purpose. Let's give a round of applause for our founder, Madam Nkeiru. Nkeiru walked up the stage slowly, dressed in a simple but elegant blue Ankara gown. Behind her, on a giant banner, were the words, "From Fire to Flower, the Journey of Yori Pap." She stood quietly for a moment, tears glistening in her eyes. Nkeiru, softly, said, "When I look around this hall, I don't just see women. I see miracles. Each of you is a story that needs to be told. I once stood in this same country, unsure of tomorrow, stirring pap under the sun with nothing but hope in my heart. But today, I see that hope has multiplied." Nkeiru continues, "I used to think success was about what I achieved. But now, I know true success is about who I helped along the way." As she spoke, her eyes wandered to the back of the hall, where her mother sat proudly, surrounded by smiling faces. Mama Nkeiru was older now, her hair silver like morning dew, but her spirit still glowed like fire. Beside her sat a group of widows who now ran their own pap-making cooperatives across the country. They sold to supermarkets, schools, and even exported in small quantities through the foundation's network. Each of them had their own story, stories that echoed the same melody. From small pots to great impact. The next generation. In a secondary school somewhere in Owerri, a group of students were writing essays on the topic, "The Woman Who Inspires Me." One girl, Adis, wrote passionately about a woman she'd never met but deeply admired. Her name is Mama Nkeiru. She sold pap to feed her children, but her faith fed the nation. She taught me that no dream is too small to grow. The teacher read the essay aloud the next day, and the class applauded. Unknown to Adis, her story would soon reach the woman herself. Nkeiru, on phone, smiling, said, "You say one student wrote this. Please, invite her to our next foundation program." When Adis arrived at the event, she was nervous. But when she saw Nkeiru in person, she burst into tears. Adis, crying softly, said, "Ma, I want to be like you." Nkeiru, hugging her, said, "No, my dear. Don't be like me. Be better. If I started with firewood and pap, you'll start with knowledge and opportunity." The whole crowd cheered as Nkeiru awarded Adis a full scholarship through her foundation. The gift that keeps giving. Radio host said. You're listening to Voice of Hope FM, and today's headline, the Yori brand expands to 6 African countries. From pap to purpose, this is one Nigerian story the world won't forget. Nkeiru's business was now international, but she never forgot her roots. Every year, she still visited the same Ekeonunwa Market to sit with her mother, share pap, and talk about life. Mama Nkeiru said, "My daughter, this pap still tastes the same. Oh. You no change anything." Nkeiru laughs, said, "How I go change Mama? It's your recipe and your spirit." Mama Nkeiru, smiling, said, "Spirit wey fire no fit burn." Reflection and farewell. Time passed, as it always does. One peaceful evening, the village gathered for the annual Harvest of Hope celebration. Mama Nkeiru was the guest of honor, old, wise, and radiant. As the children danced and people shared food, she stood slowly to speak. Mama Nkeiru calmly said, "My people, when I was a young woman, I thought life was about surviving. But I later learned it's about serving. If God blesses you, and you don't use that blessing to lift another, then that blessing goes sour like pap we no star." Mama Nkeiru continues, "We all carry fire inside us. Don't be afraid of it. Use it to warm, not to burn. Use it to light another person's way." That was her final public speech. Months later, she passed peacefully in her sleep, the same woman who once stirred pap over fire to feed her children, now resting as a mother to nations. Legacy lives on. At her burial, people came from all over, traders, students, ministers, journalists. They all came to honor the woman whose hands turned fire into fortune, and suffering into sweetness. On her tombstone were engraved these words: "She stirred, she served, she soared." Nkeiru wept, but with peace in her heart. As she looked at her mother's resting place, Nkeiru whispered softly, "Mama, your fire still burns." Years later, Owerri pap became one of the first African breakfast ground stocked in over 20 countries. The foundation continued to grow, supporting thousands of families. And every year, during their anniversary, Nkeiru would pour a small bowl of pap into the earth, saying, "For Mama, who stirred the first pot." Final reflection. Sometimes, greatness doesn't come with applause or bright lights. Sometimes, it comes quietly, in the sound of a spoon stirring pap before sunrise. In the sweat of a mother's brow. In the faith that refuses to die. Mama Nkeiru's story reminds us that hope is not something you find, it's something you make. Every challenge is a fire. Every effort is a stirring. And every small victory is steam rising toward heaven. So wherever you are, whatever your pap may be, keep stirring. Keep believing. Because one day, your fire too will feed the world. The end. Thank you for walking with us through this journey of strength, faith, and motherly love. If this story touched your heart, don't let it end here. Subscribe to Echoes of Mama Nwaolu, where every story whispers wisdom. Every echo carries truth. And every heart finds its reflection. Remember to like, share, and leave a comment, so that the world will keep hearing the echoes of stories that must never die. Echoes of Mama Nwaolu, stories that echo through generations.